I'm starting to suspect something's going on between my girlfriend and my friend. We all live together. Maybe I'm imagining things. I'm just on edge because if my suspicions turn out to be true, our life under one roof is going to turn into a living hell. Please, tell me I'm going crazy. I'm 22. We live as two couples in the same apartment while attending the same university. The apartment was originally rented by my girlfriend Alexis, 22, who I'd been dating for about 2 years, along with our mutual friend Brooke, also 22. The place is huge, with an expensive rent. It was supposed to be shared by 3 girls, but one backed out last minute. They thought about moving to a cheaper place, but they'd already invested so much into this apartment and were so attached to it that they hated the idea of leaving. When my lease ended in May, I offered to move in with them to split the rent and utilities 3 ways. I was already spending most nights there anyway. Both Alexis and Brooke loved the idea. Right before I moved in, Brooke started dating my best friend Derek. It was great, now both couples could hang out together with their best friends and partners at the same time. It seemed perfect. Derek also started spending the night at Brooke's more and more often. Then in October, when his parents sold their house and moved away, he temporarily moved in with us. We weren't in any rush for him to find a new place, it made sharing all the expenses between 4 of us a lot easier. But just a reminder, only Alexis and Brooke are officially on the lease. Luckily, the landlord doesn't care as long as the rent gets paid and we keep quiet, which we do. Now, there have been 3 incidents that made me start to think something is going on. If it weren't for all 3 together, I wouldn't be suspicious. Alexis is a sweet and shy girl, and Derek is like a brother to me. There's never been any flirting between them. We're all just close friends who spend a lot of time together. Incident 1. On Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, Brooke and I have early classes, so we're out of the apartment by 8 a.m. Derek and Alexis have afternoon classes, so it's not unusual for them to leave the house together sometimes, though usually in separate cars. One day, I decided to surprise Alexis after her class and take her out to lunch. I waited outside her lecture hall, watching students come out, but Alexis wasn't there. I texted her, asking where she was, and she replied, "Just got out of class, heading home to study." I tried calling her, thinking maybe I just missed her in the crowd, but she didn't answer, even though she just texted me. That was odd, because she's the type who's glued to her phone. She didn't call back until later, which also wasn't like her. Later that day, I ran into Brooke, who casually mentioned that Derek was staying home sick and she was going to bring him some soup. At the time, I didn't think much of it. But when I got home that night, I noticed Alexis's car was parked in the exact same spot it had been earlier. She usually parks in the guest spot because we only have 3 reserved spots, so her car constantly moves. I asked if she went to class. She hesitated, then admitted she skipped because the professor is terrible and she wasn't learning anything. She knows I don't like it when she skips, her grades had already been slipping, but she'd been trying to stay on track lately. I kissed her and told her I trusted her decision. While I was washing dishes, she said she probably wouldn't skip again because sitting home alone was boring. I laughed, and we went about our night. But when we went to bed, something clicked. She shouldn't have been alone. Derek was supposedly homesick. She was still on her phone, so I suddenly asked her if Derek had been home that day. She looked thrown off, though maybe because I'd asked the question out of nowhere. She said he was there in the morning but went out later, but she wasn't really sure. At the time, I brushed it off, but later, after the other incidents, that shaky answer started to bother me. Incident 2. I went to take out the kitchen trash and noticed an empty condom wrapper, the exact brand Alexis and I use. It wasn't right out in the open, but slightly pushed behind a cereal box. Brooke and Derek always use a different brand, the free ones from the campus health center. Ours are expensive Trojans. It struck me as weird because we always throw that kind of thing out in our own trash, not the kitchen bin. Also, because of exams and stress, Alexis and I hadn't been intimate in a while. I didn't go digging through the trash, but I did check our supply at home. Hard to tell if anything was missing since we buy in bulk. My first thought was that Brooke and Derek ran out and used one of ours without asking. It annoyed me, they could have at least said something. That night, I mentioned it to Alexis. Her eyes went huge when I explained my theory. She overreacted a bit, she's normally pretty calm, but she got really upset about the violation of privacy. I suggested we talk to them about it, but she made me promise not to bring it up unless it happened again. She said she didn't want an awkward conversation. That felt odd to me. We usually talk pretty openly about this stuff, living together and all. But maybe she was just being shy. She's from a small conservative town and doesn't talk about those topics as easily. Incident 3. Derek and I are friendly with the guys in the apartment next door. They're graduates from our university. We don't exactly hang out, but we chat in the hallway sometimes. Last Monday, we were on break. I ran into one of them when no one else was home. We talked about football, and then he casually said, "One of the couples in your apartment is really into morning sex, these walls are thin." I laughed, because Alexis and I used to be intimate in the mornings on weekends when no one was home. Brooke and Derek often visited her parents out of town on weekends. But then I thought about it, we hadn't done that in weeks. If he meant weekdays, who was he hearing? I felt sick. I wanted to ask more, but the conversation had already moved on, and I didn't know how to bring it up without sounding crazy. First update. Most of you suggested I talk to Brooke and or try to catch them in the act. I decided to do both. Sunday night, everyone was back at the apartment. I was planning to pull Brooke aside to ask her about what the neighbor said, but before I had the chance, she said something that totally flipped my theory. She told Derek to go to bed early so he wouldn't be too tired for work in the morning. Now, I knew Derek worked an on-campus job, but it had always been night shifts. Trying to play it casual, I asked him how long he'd been working mornings. He said he'd picked up extra shifts about a month ago and now started at 9 a.m. I usually leave at 7:45 a.m., so I wouldn't have noticed. The rest of the night I was in my head, was he lying? Is he still home in the mornings? Or is Alexis seeing someone else, like some of you suggested? Or maybe I am just a paranoid loser. I went to bed completely drained and confused. The next morning, I went to my classes on autopilot, the whole time going back and forth. Should I go home and check? Or stay because I have too much to do and this whole theory is falling apart? Finally, after my first class, I said screw it and went to my car. And honestly, part of me regrets going. When I got to the apartment, Derek's car wasn't there. Only Alexis's. My heart was pounding. I didn't know what I expected. As I got to the door, I heard a male voice inside laughing and a female voice whispering and giggling back. I pressed my ear to the door, trying to catch what they were saying, but could only hear bits and pieces. Then I heard Alexis giggling and squealing like she was being tickled. I probably should have waited. I know that now. But at the time, I just couldn't. As soon as I started unlocking the door, the apartment went dead silent. She was hooking up with Mark. I hadn't mentioned Mark in the original post. He's one of the guys in the apartment next door, not the one who hinted to me, and the only one I've never liked. Total cocky asshole, always making inappropriate comments about both girls. I'd ignored it until now. But as soon as I walked in, they both looked at me like deer in headlights. Every hopeful thought that this might have an innocent explanation vanished. I wanted to scream at them, demand answers, but the whole thing was so humiliating, I just burst into tears. I didn't want them to see that, so I just said, cool. Fucking fantastic, and stormed back out. I heard Alexis yelling my name down the hall, but I walked faster. I honestly expected her to chase after me, but when I got to my car, no one was there. I drove to a park nearby and just sat there in shock. Weirdly, my first thought was, how the hell am I going to tell my family? They loved Alexis. They joked about us getting married. She was part of the family. Then I started thinking about what to do next. Finals are in a couple weeks, I can't handle moving right now. I'm applying to an insanely competitive grad program and can't afford to let this derail me. I'm writing this from my friend's house. I told him what happened, and he talked to his parents, who are letting me stay here. I still have to go back and get my stuff from the apartment. Planning to do that tomorrow during one of Alexis's classes that she absolutely can't miss. About an hour after I left, she started blowing up my phone and hasn't stopped since. First, she asked me to come back so she could explain. I didn't even have time to respond before another message came. She was begging me to come back because she was having a panic attack and I usually help her with those. Maybe I'm heartless, but my first thought was, good. You deserve it. Then there was a pause. Then she texted, I don't get why you're so jealous. We were just talking. I get how it looked, but nothing happened. He needed advice about his relationship. Please believe me. No. I don't have to believe you. Normally, I'd feel some petty satisfaction watching a cheater squirm, but my dumb brain kept replaying all our happy memories and wondering, was she cheating even back then? Later that night, I got a text from an unknown number. It was the normal guy from the next door apartment. He said he got my number from Derek and wanted to apologize. He felt bad about what I was going through and wished he'd told me sooner, but he hadn't been sure. He said he knew his friend was seeing a girl who already had a boyfriend, but didn't put two and two together until he heard her name. As many of you guessed, that earlier comment he made was a subtle hint. So yeah, it's probably been going on for a while. I don't think Derek or Brooke know yet. I haven't told them, I'm still trying to find the words. I know once they find out, it'll blow up our living situation and our friendships. But I need to tell them before Alexis spins the story her way. I also wonder what the normal neighbor told them when he asked for my number, probably not the whole story, or they would have already contacted me. If they take her side, then I've lost not just a girlfriend, but also my friends. If anyone has advice on how to get through this, especially if you've been through something similar, please share. I don't have many friends to talk to besides the one I'm staying with. Alexis, Brooke, and Derek were basically my family. Alexis and I had even talked about moving in together long term. I've never taken a relationship as seriously as I did with her. Second update. After my first 2 posts and a ton of DMs, I now have a whole collection of personal words of support I go back to whenever I feel low, which, honestly, happens a lot these days. I've heard from all kinds of people, married, single, old, young, just, wow. I never expected the internet to offer this kind of support. One small clarification about the last update: I wasn't super clear. They weren't literally having sex the moment I walked in. They were sitting on the couch, looking like they'd just been caught doing something. They froze and went silent. It definitely wasn't an "oh hey, what's up" kind of situation. After I posted the last update, I finally realized how stupid it was not to tell Derek and Brooke my side of the story. So I took a screenshot of the text from the normal neighbor, let's call him Will. All names are fake except Mark, because, fuck you, Mark. Not even a minute later, Derek was calling and texting me. It was clear he had no idea what was going on. At the same time, Alexis was still blowing up my phone, begging me to meet with her. I felt sick and just texted Derek one message, not in a state to talk, and put my phone away for the night. The next morning, Derek texted again, invited me to dinner and drinks at my favorite restaurant, on him. He promised no one else would be there, not even Brooke. I hadn't had much of an appetite since all this started, but that offer meant a lot. I really wanted to see him, so I decided to go after my classes. I got to the restaurant first and nearly lost my mind thinking Alexis might show up too. But she didn't. Derek walked in, hugged me, and his first words were, "Dude, what the fuck?" And here's where it gets crazy. A lot of you had warned that Brooke might side with Alexis, or that she might have known all along. I wasn't sure myself. Brooke is definitely closer to Alexis, but we've been friends longer. According to Derek, when he told Brooke, she lost it. He said, I was about to yell at Alexis, but Brooke already did, and then some. Remember how I said Alexis is from a super conservative town? Her parents don't know she's been living with us. She always stressed about it, afraid that if they found out, they'd stop supporting her financially. They were polite to me but clearly worried our relationship would interfere with her studies, or worse, that she'd get pregnant. Derek said Brooke told Alexis she had to pack up and move out, or she'd call Alexis's parents and tell them everything. That night, apparently Alexis sat in the living room clutching my sweater, sobbing that her life was over. Brooke yelled from her room, "Well, maybe you shouldn't have fucked Mark then." Honestly, picturing that moment gave me a weird sense of satisfaction. I always knew Brooke was direct, but I didn't expect her to take cheating that seriously. It was really touching. During dinner, my fears about losing my friends totally melted away. I even managed to eat a little sushi. Afterward, Derek promised to let me know once Alexis moves out so I can grab the rest of my stuff. I declined for now first, because even if she leaves, everything in that apartment reminds me of her, including Derek and Brooke. Second, Alexis and Mark probably had sex in my room, and I want no part of that space anymore. Third, in my current emotional state, I really don't want to be the third wheel around a happy couple, no matter how kind they are about it. Derek understood and said to let him know if I change my mind. As for Brooke and Alexis's friendship, yeah, that's done. This week's been mostly quiet, but I'm constantly trying to avoid Alexis. Our major only has about 60 students, so we share a lot of classes. I asked 2 friends to keep an eye out and warn me if she's waiting around. I gave them the short version of the drama. Now I show up to classes last minute. As far as I know, she only tried waiting for me once. One of my friends texted me, "Bitch spotted by the lecture hall. Tears are flowing. Stay alert." So I skipped that class. I wasn't ready to risk it, and I had no idea if she'd leave. Later that night, Alexis sent me a huge message on Facebook trying to explain everything from the beginning. It crushed me to read. I debated even opening it, but once I started, I couldn't stop. She said Mark had been flirting with her in the hallway, which I'd seen him do to both girls before. She said she tried to be polite, but apparently it came off as flirting back. One day, he kissed her mid-conversation. She claimed she felt guilty for leading him on, and that's why she didn't shut him down right away. She supposedly thought the whole thing was her fault. She also wrote that she struggles to say no to people. She admitted they slept together 3 times. Said she didn't enjoy it and that Mark pressured her, not rape, but not a clear yes either. She claimed she was about to end it for good when I walked in. Then she wrote that she'd understand if I needed space, but that she'd do anything to fix things and dedicate her life to making it up to me. Examples included treating me like a king, never having to cook, clean, or do laundry again, giving me full access to her phone and passwords, installing Life 360 so I'd always know where she is, cutting off all contact with Mark and all male friends just in case, sex whenever I wanted. Yeah, sounds super healthy, right? I didn't reply. Honestly, I was tempted to leave her unblocked just to watch this circus unfold. She'd already started posting sad statuses, song lyrics about mistakes, forgiveness, even quotes from our song. But I know myself. I'd end up doom scrolling through her page and old photos, so I just blocked her. A couple hours later, Derek texted. She's screaming and crying because you blocked her. Third update. Honestly, I wasn't planning to post again, but so many of you asked for another update that I feel like I owe it to you, especially after all the support you gave me. After finals ended, considering everything that had happened, I think I handled it pretty well. It all hit me like a ton of bricks, honestly worse than the cheating itself. I deleted all our photos from social media, threw away anything that reminded me of Alexis, removed our songs from my playlists, all of it. We'd been inseparable since the day we met, so that was 2+ years of memories. It was brutal. But I really wanted to finish this before New Year's. Cliché, I know, new year, new life, but whatever. Someone messaged me after the second update, saying Alexis had now lost her closest friends, her boyfriend, and her apartment and might hurt herself. Yeah, I know how dramatic that sounds, but once I read it, I couldn't get it out of my head. Yes, what she did was awful, but I thought maybe a final conversation would help both of us move forward. Maybe it would help me draw a line under it, and let her understand that it's over so she could move on too. So I decided to meet with her before everyone left for winter break. A lot of you said I should just ignore her and maybe I'll disappoint you, but I did this for myself. I texted Alexis, if you want to talk, we can meet somewhere. But there's no chance we'll be together again, so please don't ask. She replied almost instantly, asked when and where. We agreed to meet at a campus coffee shop. When I got there, she was already at a table. She stood up to hug me, I waved her off, and she flinched like a kicked puppy. I instantly felt guilty, but I just wanted this done. At first, it was this awkward small talk, how are you? How were your exams? But I cut her off and asked, were you unhappy in our relationship? Her eyes got huge and she started babbling, no, then stopped. I asked, if everything was fine, then why did this happen? She launched into the same story, I have trouble saying no, he pressured me. I stopped her and told her to quit the bullshit and take responsibility. A kiss in the hallway, maybe I could believe that. But sex 3 times? Yeah, no. She dropped her eyes, shrugged, and muttered, you're right. I know. Then the tears came. She said I'd never understand how sorry she was. Then she asked if there was any chance we could get back together. Which, honestly, I'd expected even though I told her not to ask. I just shook my head and said if she wanted, she could still live with Derek and Brooke. She refused, said she'd already arranged to move in with a friend. After that, the conversation went in circles, her trying to justify it all by saying she didn't want people to think she was cold. And me trying to get her to admit that was an excuse. I don't know why, but I needed her to own it. She had willingly destroyed a great relationship and a real future, and she wouldn't admit it. She's always been stubborn like that. Finally, I let it go. We parted on semi-civil terms. As I left, she grabbed my hand like she wanted to say something, but just shook her head and let go. At first, that meeting made me feel even worse. But later, it finally hit me, even if she hadn't cheated, she wasn't the kind of person I wanted to be with. She never took responsibility for anything, failed a class? Professor's fault. Can't get an internship or job? Just bad luck, not because she didn't try. I just hadn't really noticed it before, maybe I was still in the honeymoon phase. And to be honest, sometimes I'm a complete idiot. After that coffee shop meeting, I texted Derek and asked if he wanted to hang out. I ended up going back to the apartment. Brooke was home, but stayed in her room. Derek and I had some beers and played video games, it actually helped a lot. We talked about everything that happened. He admitted they haven't been able to find a third roommate, just random strangers they didn't want to live with. He asked me again if I'd consider moving back in. It was clear he really wanted me to, and I felt bad that they're stuck paying extra rent now. So I agreed, but said I'd wait until Alexis moved all her stuff out. Most of the furniture was hers, and I still can't sleep in that bed. Also, Brooke apologized for how hard she came down on Alexis. Turns out, her stepdad cheated on her mom, so this was a really personal topic for her. I told her I wasn't upset at all, she could shout at cheaters anytime she wanted. I also invited Will, our awesome neighbor, out for food and drinks at a great spot near campus. A lot of you had asked why he hated Mark so much. Turns out, Mark constantly dodged rent, claimed he couldn't pitch in for basic stuff like cleaning supplies or light bulbs, and kept coming home drunk and loud after promising to be more considerate. Classic asshole roommate behavior. Will's a great guy, we had a good talk about everything, Alexis, school, sports, it was really nice. Eventually, I told my parents what happened. As expected, my mom bombarded me with questions and cried her eyes out. Fun times. I probably should visit home soon, but my older brother just got engaged on Christmas Eve, and with everything going on, I couldn't even be happy for him. Made me feel like a crappy brother. And now my whole family can't stop talking about the engagement, and I'm just not in the headspace for that. Life still isn't perfect, but I'm definitely doing better. Alexis has moved all her stuff out. I bought a new bed and dresser from another student. Classes started last week and honestly, they're amazing. The courses and professors are great. Derek and Brooke are super supportive and don't make me feel like a third wheel at all. I did run into Mark in the hallway once. He completely ignored me and I did the same. But damn, it took all my willpower not to punch him. Maybe that urge will fade eventually. I wanted to confront him, but based on what Will told me, it would have just made me even angrier and accomplished nothing. Sorry this update isn't as dramatic as the last ones. But seriously, thank you all for the love and support. You really helped me get through the worst of it. That's it for now.